This is Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join Pastors Dave, Ty, and Shane for a fresh, fun, and often unpredictable take on faith, the Bible, and the world around us.
Good morning, everyone. It's Pastors Live, and we are glad that you're with us. We've got some great people in the studio today. We've got Pastor Davis here today.
Hey, God bless you guys.
Pastor Shane's here today.
Hello.
Top of the morning to you both,
Top of
by
the
the way.
morning.
I hope you enjoyed your St. Patrick's Day.
We certainly did.
Okay. Did you get your corned beef?
Absolutely.
Get your cabbage?
And yes.
Okay.
And plenty of leftovers.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, that's good to hear. So for the rest of the month, you're set.
We're good for a week.
You're good for a week? Okay. So Shane, you're good?
Yeah, I got lunch today, tomorrow, and Friday. So
okay, I'm trying to sort out Viking holidays. I'll work on that later. Gary, how are you this morning?
I'm
Gary's
doing well,
here today.
Pastor Ty.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Doing
Hey,
well.
and I'm Ty. I'm here today. But we also have some very special guests here today. We're going to be talking about missions today. We have Miriam here today, and we're really thankful for you to come in. And then we also have Carly, who's here today. And you guys are here with perspectives, and you're here to teach.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
And Carly, you're part of the Perspectives leadership team.
Yes.
And so we're really thankful for you guys. But as we get started, this is kind of, Gary puts these up here, but it's a National Encourage Someone Day. I love what it says. Just a simple reminder that words matter, especially today. Our words matter every day. Mm-hmm. And, we'll be judged according to every idle word that we speak. And so may the words that we speak be edifying to the hearer and full of grace and truth. And so, but I really kind of appreciated that, Gary. So, Gary, did you make that one up, or is that a real one?
It's a different, kind of go in a different direction a little bit with that one. So
you made that one up. Is that what you're saying?
Two different websites.
Did you modify one that they recommended and you modified it?
Right.
Well, Gary, I'd like
okay.
to encourage you.
Yes.
I look over at the basket in front of Carly and I realize that you've replenished the Butterfingers and Baby Ruth bars.
Yeah.
Well, way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had Dean on the other day, and Dean has the ability to reach in and pull out a Butterfinger from anywhere in the pile. So it's a pretty impressive gift. But as these guys are here talking about missions, we want to encourage you, talk to people about your faith. That's super important. And one of the ways that we're going to be doing that here coming up really soon is we have our Easter services. So our days that we're going to be celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. Those are coming up on Saturday, April 4th at 7 p.m. And of course, Sunday morning at 9 and 11 on April 5th. We're going to be looking at Love's Triumph. And so we invite you guys to invite other people to come to church as we share the gospel with those who may not have ever heard it, or those that need to have that moment of refreshment in their lives just to remember how good God is to them. We have, of course, our men's conference coming up. And before we get into our guests, hey, we just want to remind everybody a men's conference is coming up, and they can register at resolvemen.com. Of course, we just had a great ladies conference. That was amazing. Right. But yes, so now we got the men's conference in view. We got Al Pittman, Rob Silvato's coming, and then we also have Miles McPherson coming back and joining us to be talking about evangelism and perseverance. And so we're excited for that. And so that's coming up in a hurry. So we're super thankful for all of those things. And so as we get started here this morning, obviously, we've got our wonderful guests in the studio, but one of the things that I would like to ask both of you is, how did you first become interested or involved in missions? Like, what was your first mission trip? What was the first thing that you did as a mission trip? Miriam, what was your first mission trip?
Well, even before mission trip, I grew up in Oregon in a home that loved the Bible, loved the church, and loved to sing. And we had a lot of missionaries over for dinner, and so not to eat them, but
thank you for the clarification. That could have gotten awkward.
But so I met people from various parts of the world and got to see that this world is God's world, right. And God has His people all over the place. And then my first mission trip was to Mexico City. I come from Oregon, from Salem, Oregon. And in those old days, there were 4 of us college students. We went to Mexico City by bus, which means a 4-day bus trip.
Yeah, that's a long trip.
And then we partnered with a Mexican church, and we went door to door to people's houses and shared the good news, and also got acquainted with the beautiful people of Mexico.
Oh,
that
right.
was my first time.
It was your first time? Carly, what was your first mission trip?
Well, I've always been into like serving others. So there was a lot of those trips. But I guess the first mission trip, like where I went to share the gospel and serve the community, was with Water Springs when we went to Cofradia, Mexico.
It was a good trip.
It was.
Yeah, it was a good trip.
And then I was like, I'm sold for missions. Let's go on more. And yeah, so that's...
Right. Dave, what was your first mission trip? What was your...
Oh, boy. Well, much like Miriam, I grew up in a very missions-minded church, and we loved to gather. We loved to sing. My mom was in the Women's Missionary Society. They used to make quilts and send them to the nations, and so forth. And then as a young man at VBS, I met a guy from Lima, Peru, a guy named Jerry Russell, and he was kind enough to become a pen pal, and that really settled my heart in missions. And then, not too ironically, I suppose, being from Southern California, first missions trip was Mexico. Yeah, so, and now where, Carly, the first trip you went on to Cofradia, you guys were building a home for a pastor and family down there. We went down to, we were in La Gloria and the little colonias right outside of Tijuana. We were in the Tijuana dump. We built a little tiny home about the size of this radio studio, actually, for a guy there in the dump who used to take care of the widows and the orphans there. And so that really put the nail in it for me, man. So over the years, my wife and I probably made 100 trips to Mexico. That was all pre 9/11.
Yeah.
And I was a much younger dude.
Yeah.
Much younger Dave.
Much younger dude.
So,
I was younger Dave, yeah.
Yeah, younger
but
Dave.
we made at least 100 trips. We used to go every 6th week down to Mexico. And we had a family that we were linked to down there just inside Tijuana. And we would stay at their house that first night, and then we would go out and do the little VBSs, outreaches, mercy work, and that kind of thing.
I love it. Yeah, for me, it's the same thing, man. Mexico. Came to know the Lord a little later in life, and through my discipleship, just realized we got to start sharing the word, man. We got to go win disciples and make disciples. And so Ensenada, Mexico was my first, and it's kind of like Miriam's. We were just evangelizing, and we did a couple little community projects, but mostly it was evangelizing and sharing the gospel with kids. So, man, I love Mexico.
Well, I think what's wonderful about we've defined missions before, right? Missions, where there's a difference between outreach and missions, because in missions, not only are you going down to do good work, but you're evangelizing and you are connecting people to either a local church or you are developing a local church, but you want a local assembly of believers so that people are not born again and then orphaned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Gary, what about you? What was your first mission trip?
My first mission trip was having a family.
Well, there you go.
That is what God called me to do, and that's I love it.
Oh, okay. So we got to take him to Mexico.
Yeah.
We just got to take him to Mexico because I heard there's good skiing.
Oh, really?
In Mexico? No, not at all. There's no ski. No,
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I have neither. My first official mission trip. Because you think about all the outreach you do door to door in your local community and a lot of that, because we did all kinds of that. But I'd say my first mission trip was a bus ride to Mexico from Idaho, and so that was a long bus ride. But we went deep into Creel during the Mushroom Valley and worked with the Tarahumara Indians in the Copper Canyon, and so that was my first mission trip. Of course, that was a fun one because we had to have everything was with at least 2 interpreters. maybe 3, depending on how far up or down the canyon we were. So that was that's kind of my first experience was also in Mexico.
Now, how did you guys get involved with Perspectives? How does that come along? Because first off, what is Perspectives, so people know, and then how did you get involved with it?
Well, Perspectives is a 15-lesson discipleship course to see God's global plan in work. And so it's a discovery journey, goes through the biblical, historical, cultural, and then strategic perspectives of how that plays out and what your role in it. So it goes through the Great Commission to the final days and shows that it's completed and how you can be part of it. And so really it's a discipleship course. It does have a global aspect of it, and that's here in Idaho all the way to the ends of the earth. And so that's the goal of that. How I got involved in it was a friend of mine took it as part of her mission org. Well, her husband had to do it, and so she took it with him and loved it and said, we need to bring it to Idaho Falls. And so when she was thinking of the 15 people to start it, she goes, Carly, I need to invite Carly. And so she invited me, and I said, yes, I'm all for learning. I'm all for how can I grow in my walk with the Lord and serve the Lord. Since 2021, I've given my life to the Lord fully. And so I was like, okay, Lord, like, here's this. And so that's how I got involved in Perspectives. I took it, and then it was, this needs to come back. More people need to hear about Perspectives and take it and have the same experiences or different ones connected to their life. And so that's why I'm now the lead coordinator of this year's.
Sometimes Bible lessons, sometimes culture lessons, sometimes strategy lessons. And I meet the most wonderful people when I teach Perspectives, because you get housed in local believers' houses, and you meet, all kinds, old people, young people, fat people, thin people, all denominations, but they all love Jesus, and they all know that this is God's world, and that Jesus gave the commandment, go, in the end of Matthew, that all authority and power is given to me, go and teach all nations, and I will be with you to the end of the world. And I meet people all throughout the country. It's the very best of American Christians, and it restores your soul to meet these people, to know that they're out there and you're partnering with them.
What did you teach when you were teaching full-time?
Well, my master's is in journalism, my doctorate is in anthropology, and I was in the School of Theology. So I taught applied anthropology in the service of the Kingdom of God. So I taught issues in Asian and African Christianity, issues in Latin American Christianity, community development, Islam, women in mission, all those kinds of things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's just very, very
love
cool.
that.
All great topics too.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like those are lectures I would go to.
So Miriam,
And
do you eat Armour hot dogs by any chance?
Oh, I eat anything.
You know what I'm talking, right? Fat kids, skinny kids, kids who climb on rocks.
I don't know that one.
You have to be my age to remember Armour hot dogs.
No, I remember. But see, my family's from the Northeast, and so it's Coney dogs. So
there you
it's
go.
the white. I'll never have another one ever again.
There you go.
Kind of thing. So yes. So as you've been, and as you're here and you're doing things, you're talking to people. We talk about missions. We talk about global missions, and one of those things that a lot of people, and I'll be honest, I always appreciate this. Every once in a while, somebody will say to me, "Hey, I want to go, and I want you to support me doing missions." And I said, "Well, that's great. I'm going to go talk to your neighbors. If you haven't talked to your neighbors, why would you go and tell the world if you won't tell the people next door to you?" But there's a good question that comes up. Why should the church pay attention to global missions when there is, and not by default, but there is kind of that attitude, hey, we also need to take care of our local community, which should be a given. But what are some of those things that you would encourage people in to be thinking globally? And what is that? Because I always tell people, look, as you're going globally, make sure you go across the street. But what are some things that would help you and you maybe encourage people in that global concept?
Yeah, obviously we have to be real with our neighbors first. We have to be
absolutely.
honest about sharing our faith with our neighbors. Like when we were all talking about, we've all been to Mexico, but Mexico is right here.
Yeah, Mexico's a neighbor.
Yeah.
So,
And so if we're not loving our Mexican neighbors and acquaintances here, then we're kind of, skipping out on our responsibilities. But Jesus did tell us to disciple all nations. And that means that there are a lot of people in this world that have never heard the good news, and there is no Bible in their language, and there is no Christian that is close enough to them. This week, actually, we've been talking about what we call unreached peoples, which doesn't mean that there's not a single Christian in their population, but it means there aren't very many. And to the extent that a person is very, very unlikely to hear the gospel. And so that's what we're talking about. Basically responding to, actually, it begins with Abraham. God called Abraham, Genesis 12:3, to be a blessing to the nation, to bless the families of the earth. And Moses said, love the alien. And David said, all the nations will praise you. And that was also true for Habakkuk. He said, the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord like the waters cover the sea. Right. And of course, the apostles were big on that too, as far as going to the people who had not heard. And so if we love our neighbors and if we're fulfilling Jesus' commands, we're not just comfortable sitting here, but we are reaching out to those. And the other thing, the practical thing, is that you look at your shirt. Your shirt probably was not made by Americans. Your shirt was probably made by a woman in Asia. And you look at your phone, rare minerals in your phone were probably dug up by a man in Congo. And you're benefiting from them, but are you blessing them?
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, that's a great. Well, that's why it's called perspectives, right? That's like, but it's interesting. So we, this conversation that happens when we have this conversation. When we were in Salmon, we had a missions map that did not have borders on it for a purpose. Because, when we talk about nations, we have a tendency to think political borders and not the ethnos issues, like as far as, like we're talking about ethnic groups. And there are still unreached people groups. Of course, that changes all the time because of global missions. Right off the top of your head, how many unreached people groups in that category are there currently that we know of? Because the world's a big place.
Yeah,
where are we at right now?
We were just going through all those statistics. Carly, do you remember what statistics?
Come on, Carly, you got this. Carly, you got this. You got this.
7,000. Oh no.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I would say it's around 7,000. I mean, different ones, depending on how it's grouped, will go from that. So it goes from like 6,800 to 7,125, I think, is the two numbers I have in my head.
How are they qualifying unreached people groups? Because years ago, when I was doing a lot of missions work, there was, that number was somewhere in the high 200s to 300s. What's happening now that is qualifying an unreached people group?
Well, the technical thing is it and of course, this is just an abstract definition.
Absolutely.
But like if there are 2% of the people are evangelical Christians, and they have the capacity to be able to actually share the gospel with their people, which is possible if they're really on fire.
Right.
It is possible. So those are the two factors, 2% of the population. And sometimes you have 2% of the population that are evangelical, but they don't witness at all.
So therefore makes it, by definition, an unreached people group.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just do the math, right? So we have 100 people, and only one of them knows the gospel, and they are sharing. Technically an unreached people group. You have 2 people, but they're not sharing out of that 100 unreached people group.
Yeah.
If you have 2 people that are sharing their faith, then there will be 3. Because of God's grace. And so that would make that 100 people a reached people group.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot of people that still don't know the Lord in that space.
Yeah.
So if we think about in the sense of a tribal sense, right?
Yeah.
And so if we think about that, that's kind of the picture that we're talking about when we talk about unreached people groups. I think that helps for definition for people because that's a lot of unreached people groups. But that also makes their unreached people groups in urban areas around the world. We're not just talking about jungles and snakes and pith helmets. We're talking about there are unreached people groups in urbanly developed areas throughout the world.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about now. Is that still a lot in that 1040 window? And could you explain that to people? Because most people don't know what that is anymore.
Oh, goodness. Well, the latitudes of what and what.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, let's come back. Let's start there tomorrow. Let's start there tomorrow because we're out of time for today.
Okay.
But we'll start there tomorrow. Are you guys willing to stick around for a few days?
Sure.
Help us out? Okay. That would be great. Okay. Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, we kind of ran out of time. We're just having a great conversation. But listen, this is Pastors Live. If you have a comment or question for Miriam or Carly, you can send it to pastorslive@therev.fm, pastorslive@therev.fm. We would love to hear from you. And we did get some comments and questions. Of course, we have some guests in our studio today, so it'll be a little bit different this week. Hey, you're loved, your family. God bless you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join us again for more Bible talk, laughter, and unexpected tangents. Questions or feedback? Pastors Live at therev.fm. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.